The metal chair scraped against the floor as Commander Jake Morrison sat down across from the alien prisoner. The room was small and cold, with bright white lights that made everything look harsh. Jake had been doing this for 3 days now. Asking questions and getting nothing back, the alien sat perfectly still. His name was something Jake could barely say, Zethkari. He looked like a giant bug that someone had taught to stand up and wear clothes. 4 arms hung at his sides, locked in metal chains. His big round eyes reflected the lights like mirrors. They never seemed to blink. Jake opened his folder and looked at the papers inside. Same questions as yesterday. Same questions as the day before that. He was getting tired of this game. "Let's try again," Jake said. He kept his voice calm and steady. "How many ships does your fleet have?" Zethkari said nothing. His mouth parts moved slightly like he was chewing something, but no sound came out. Behind the thick glass wall, Dr. Lisa Kane watched everything. She was the smartest person Jake knew when it came to alien stuff. Next to her stood General Ben Carter, a big man with gray hair who always looked worried about something. Today he looked more worried than usual. "This is pointless," the general said through the speaker in Jake's ear. "He's not going to talk." Jake ignored him. He had dealt with tough prisoners before. Everyone breaks eventually. You just had to. "Find the right pressure point. Your people attacked our colony on Kepler Station last week," Jake said. 12,000 people died. Men, women, children. They had no weapons. They were just farmers trying to grow food. The first time something changed in the alien's face, his mouth parts clicked together fast, making a sound like typing on a keyboard. His big eyes seemed to get bigger. "You do not understand what you have done to us," Zethkari said. Jake almost fell out of his chair. The alien finally spoke. His voice was strange, like someone trying to talk with their mouth full of water. But the words were clear enough. "What did you say?" Jake asked. Zethkari's forearms moved against the chains. "You do not understand what you have done to us," he said again. "What your kind has done to mine." Jake looked at his papers, trying to think fast. This was not what he expected. Usually when prisoners started talking, they asked for deals or tried to bargain, didn't talk about what their enemies had done to them. "Tell me what we've done," Jake said. "Help me understand." The alien's mouth parts kept clicking. His whole body seemed to shake a little. "7 cycles we have fought your species. 7 cycles of wrongness." "Wrongness? We are warriors," Zethkari said. "We have conquered the stars. 17 species have fallen before our might. But you..." He stopped talking and made a sound that might have been a sigh. "You are broken." Dr. Kane's voice came through Jake's earpiece. "Ship types, weapon systems, anything tactical." Jake nodded but kept focusing on the alien. Something important was happening here. He could feel it. "How are we broken?" Jake asked. Zethkari looked straight at him. Those big round eyes seemed to see right through him. "Your warriors fight without honor. Your leaders send fighters to die for no reason. Your people do not know when they are beaten." "Maybe we don't get beaten," Jake said. "Everyone gets beaten," Zethkari said quickly. "That is the way of war. The strong win, the weak lose. The winner takes what they want, the loser accepts their place. This is how it has always been." Jake thought about all the battles he had fought against these aliens. They were tough fighters, no doubt about that. Their ships were fast and their weapons hit hard. But they always seemed surprised when humans kept fighting after taking heavy losses. "What if we don't accept our place?" Jake asked. The clicking sound got faster. Zethkari pulled against his chains. Impossible. When a warrior falls in battle, they stay fallen. When a fleet is destroyed, the survivors surrender. When a world is taken, the people bow to their new masters. This is the natural order. "For us, yes," Zethkari said, his voice getting louder. "Your people are mad. They fight when they should surrender. They attack when they should retreat. They laugh when they should weep. It makes no sense." Jake felt like he was starting to understand something, but he wasn't sure what. "Tell me about your other wars." "The 17 species you conquered, they were proper wars. Zethkari said. His voice got calmer. The Silthians fought bravely for 30 days, then surrendered when their fleet was broken. The Morvok lasted longer, nearly a full cycle, but they knew when they were beaten. Each species we faced understood the rules of war. What rules? When you lose, you stop fighting. When your leaders are dead, you get new ones who will make peace. When your world burns, you do not send more ships to burn with it. Zethkari leaned forward as much as his chains would let him. Your people do the opposite of everything. Through his earpiece, Jake heard General Carter talking to Dr. Kane. Is he saying what I think he's saying? That we're winning because we're too stupid to quit? Dr. Kane shushed him. Keep him talking, Jake. This is important. Jake looked at the alien warrior. You said we've done something to your people. What did you mean? Zethkari was quiet for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was very soft. My warriors have bad dreams now. They wake up in the night and cannot go back to sleep. They ask questions that have no good answers. What kind of questions? Why do human cubs play war games and laugh when they lose? Why do your wounded soldiers tell jokes while they bleed? Why do your prisoners sing songs instead of begging for mercy? Jake blinked. He hadn't expected that. You've been watching our children? We watch everything. We study our enemies. But your children? ... Zethkari shook his head. They make no sense. Fight each other with toy weapons, they fall down dead, then they get up and do it again. And they smile the whole time. It's just playing, Jake said. Kids like to pretend. No. Zethkari's voice got hard. It is training, but training for what? To enjoy defeat? What kind of pleasure and pain? What kind of warriors are you making? Jake started to answer, but Zethkari kept talking. I have killed many humans in battle, the alien said. But they do not die like other species. They do not fear. They do not beg. Some of them even tried to help my wounded soldiers. Even while dying, they showed kindness to their enemies. He paused. This is not natural. This is not how war works. The room got very quiet. Jake could hear his own heartbeat. Your species has committed the greatest act of psychological warfare in galactic history, Zethkari said finally. And you do not even know it. 3 weeks had passed since Zethkari first spoke. The alien warrior now sat in a different room. One with more light and a small table between him and Jake. His chains were looser now, allowing him to move his forearms more freely. He had been talking every day, telling them things that made everyone at the base very uncomfortable. Jake opened his notebook and looked at the alien across the table. Zethkari seemed smaller somehow, less scary than before. His big round eyes looked tired, and his mouth parts moved slowly when he spoke. Tell me about your empire, Jake said. How big is it? 12 star systems, Zethkari replied. His voice was getting better at human words. 43 worlds where our people live. Thousands of ships. Millions of warriors. Dr. Kane watched from behind the glass, taking notes on everything. General Carter stood next to her, his face serious. They had been learning things about the Vorthok that scared them. How long have you been conquering other worlds? Jake asked. 1,000 of your years, Zethkari said. My great-great-grandfather fought in the first wars. My father died taking the Morvac homeworld. I was born to be a warrior, as was every male of my kind. Jake wrote this down. What happens to Vorthok children? There are no children in your... Meaning, the alien said. Our young go to the fighting schools when they can walk. They learn to use weapons before they learn to speak properly. Strong ones live, the weak ones serve the strong ones. This is how we have always done things. And the weak ones accept this? Zethkari looked confused. Of course. When you lose a fight, you take your place below the winner. When you prove yourself weak, you serve those who are strong. This is natural order. Through the speaker, Dr. Kane asked Jake to inquire about the other species they had fought. Jake nodded and turned back to Zethkari. Said you conquered 17 different species. Tell me about them. The alien's posture straightened a little. This was clearly something he was proud of. Great victories, all of them. The Silthians had beautiful ships, very fast, but their warriors gave up to easily. When we destroyed half their fleet, they sent messengers asking for peace terms. How long did that war last? 43 days. The Morvok fought longer, nearly one full cycle of seasons. They were brave fighters, but they understood when they were beaten. After we took their capital world, their remaining forces surrendered. Immediately. Jake made notes as Zethkari continued. The crash lasted only 12 days. Toval fought for 2 cycles, but quit when their leaders were killed. The Nefek tried to hide in their underground cities, but they came out to surrender. When we threatened to flood their tunnels, they all surrendered eventually? Yes, this is how war works. You fight until one side wins, and the other side loses. The losers accept their defeat and serve the winners. The winners take what they need and rule the losers fairly, but firmly. Zethkari paused. It has always been this way. Until you met us, Jake said. The alien's mouth parts started clicking rapidly. Yes, until you. What was different about fighting humans? Zethkari was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer. We expected the same pattern. Quick victory, maybe 30 days of fighting. Your ships were not as fast as Scythian ships, not as well armed as Morvac ships. Your ground forces seemed disorganized compared to the Nefek. But you did not fight like other species. When we destroyed your first fleet, you sent another one. When we took your outer colonies, you attacked our supply lines. When we killed your leaders, new ones appeared the next day. Jake leaned forward. This surprised you? Surprised? Zethkari made a sound that might have been bitter laughter. We were shocked. The first year we destroyed 3 human fleets completely. Any other species would have asked for peace talks. Instead, you humans built bigger fleets and attacked us harder. What did your commanders think about this? First, they thought you were simply bad at war. They believed you did not understand that you were losing. But as the years passed, Zethkari trailed off. What happened as the years passed? Things began to change among my people. Warriors who had never questioned anything started asking strange questions. Commanders who had won hundreds of battles began to doubt themselves. Some warriors asked to be assigned to different fronts, away from human space. Dr. Kane's voice came through Jake's earpiece. Ask him about morale. How are his people handling a long war? How are your warriors handling this war? Jake asked. Zethkari looked down at the table. Badly, very badly. Eva saying, a warrior who cannot win should not fight, but against. Humans, winning and losing, make no sense. You lose battles but act like you won them. You celebrate disasters as if they were victories. Can you give me an example? It's a battle at your colony called Kepler Station. We killed 12,000 of your people. We destroyed your defenses completely. Should have been a great victory for us. Zethkari looked up at Jake. But 3 days later, 50 of your ships attacked our main fleet. The human commander broadcast a message saying the deaths at Kepler Station would be remembered forever, and that every human fighter was now fighting for those dead colonists. Jake nodded. He remembered that battle. It had been a terrible loss, but it had made everyone in the human fleet fight harder. Your people turned a defeat into a rallying cry, Zethkari continued. This is not possible. When you lose, you should feel shame and weakness. Instead, you felt anger and determination. My commanders did not know how to respond to this. Did they do? They argued. For the first time in our history, Vorthok commanders could not agree on battle strategy. Some wanted to attack harder, to show humans the cost of resistance. Others wanted to find ways to make humans understand they were beaten. A few even suggested retreating until we could find a better strategy. Jake was surprised. Your people considered retreating? Never before, Zethkari said firmly. Vorthok do not retreat. We advance or we die in place. But fighting humans has made my people think thoughts that no Vorthok has ever thought before. What kind of thoughts? Questions about the purpose of war. Questions about what victory really means. Questions about whether there are enemies who cannot be defeated because they refuse to understand that they have lost. Zethkari's voice got quieter. Some warriors have started having dreams about human prisoners we captured. In these dreams, the humans are laughing even while they die. Our people laugh when they're in pain? Yes, this is another thing that makes no sense. When we captured human soldiers, they would tell jokes to each other. They would sing songs. Some of them even tried to help wounded Vorthok warriors, showing kindness to their enemies. Sethkari shook his head. What kind of species shows mercy? To those who are trying to kill them? Jake thought about this. It sounded like normal human behavior to him, but he was starting to understand why it would confuse the aliens. These dreams, he said, are they causing problems for your warriors? Yes, many warriors cannot sleep properly anymore. They wake up in the middle of sleep cycles and cannot return to rest. Some refuse to eat. Others ask their commanders questions that have no good answers. What questions? Why do human young ones play games where they pretend to die and then get up to play again? Why do humans help their enemies? Why do they fight harder after losing battles instead of softer? Looked directly at Jake. These questions are spreading through our empire like a sickness. Warriors who have never doubted anything are now doubting everything. The room became very quiet. Jake could hear the air system humming through the walls. I need to tell you. Something else, Sethkari said suddenly. Something that will help you understand why I am talking to you now. What is it? The Vorthok Empire is breaking apart, the alien said. For the first time in our history, we are fighting among ourselves. Some commanders want to continue the war with humans, believing that we just need to try harder. Others want to stop fighting and study your species to understand why our methods do not work. A few have even suggested that maybe humans are not actually losing this war. Jake felt his heart beat faster. What do you think? Sethkari was quiet. For a long time, finally, he spoke. I think my people started a war we do not know how to win. That frightens us more than any weapon you could build. Commander Jake Morrison looked at the alien warrior sitting across from him. 6 weeks had passed since Sethkari first spoke, and today, the alien had made a strange request, wanted to watch the human children play. I do not understand your request, General Carter had said earlier. Why would a prisoner of war want to observe our children? It is important for my full testimony, Sethkari had replied. You want to understand why my people are suffering? The answer lies with your young ones. Now, Jake sat with the alien in a small room with a window that looked out at the base recreation area. Through the glass, they could see about 20 children, playing in the afternoon sun. Most of them belonged to the soldiers and staff who worked at the base. There, Jake said, pointing to a boy with brown hair who was running around with a toy gun. That's my son Danny. He's 8 years old. Sethkari pressed his face close to the window. His big round eyes followed every movement of the children. They were playing some kind of war game, dividing into 2 teams and chasing each other around. The playground equipment. Watch, Jake said. Danny just got shot by that girl there. See how he falls down? Danny dramatically threw himself to the ground, making exaggerated dying sounds. His friends laughed, and after a few seconds, he jumped back up and rejoined the game. Sethkari made a sound like choking. His forearms pressed against the window, and his mouth parts clicked rapidly. Are you all right? Jake asked. No, Sethkari said. His voice was shaking. No, I am not all right. This is the most disturbing thing I have ever seen. Jake looked back. At the children, they seemed perfectly normal to him. What's disturbing about kids playing? He died, Sethkari said, pointing at Danny. That young human died in battle and then he got up and rejoined the fight. How is this possible? It's just pretend, Jake explained. They're not really fighting, it's a game. A game. The alien's voice got higher. They are playing at war. Sure, kids love war games. Cowboys and aliens, cops and robbers, space battles. It's normal. Sethkari backed away from the window like it was on fire. This is not normal. This is impossible. This is wrong in every way. Double quotes Dr. Kane's voice came through Jake's earpiece. Ask him to explain why this upsets him so much. Jake turned to face the alien. Help me understand. Why does watching children play bother you? Sethkari sat down heavily in his chair. He looked pale, if aliens could look pale. In my culture, when a warrior falls in battle, they stay fallen. To be defeated means permanent shame. Our young learn this from the moment they can walk. But these are just children playing a game. No, Zethkari said loudly. You do not understand. Your young ones are learning that defeat is temporary. They are learning that losing a fight does not matter. They fall down dead and then get up to fight again as if nothing happened. Jake thought about this. And that's bad? It is horrifying, Zethkari said. My people have conquered 17 species across the galaxy. Every single one of them understood the basic rule of conflict. When you lose, you accept your loss and take your place below the victor. But your species teaches its children the opposite. Through the window, they watched as Danny's team was completely surrounded by the other team. Instead of surrendering, the children laughed and charged straight into the larger group, getting killed immediately, but having fun doing it. They are outnumbered and surrounded. Any rational being would surrender. Instead, they attack. And when they lose, they are happy about it. Jake watched his son play and tried to see it through alien eyes. They're just having fun. Fun, Zethkari repeated the word, like it tasted bad. They find joy in defeat. They treat losing as entertainment. This is not how intelligent species behave. Maybe that's why we keep fighting you, Jake said. We don't see losing as permanent. Zethkari looked at him with those big round eyes. Yes, now you begin to understand the horror of what your species has done to mine. Dr. Kane came into the room, carrying a tablet with data on it. I've been studying the psychological profiles of captured Vorthok soldiers, she said. The results are disturbing. What did you find? Ake asked. Every Vorthok prisoner we've interrogated shows signs of severe psychological stress when exposed to human attitudes about failure. They can't process the concept that losing doesn't have to be permanent. Zethkari nodded slowly. This is the sickness that spreads through my people. We do not know how to fight an enemy that refuses to stay defeated. Dr. Kane sat down at the table. Can you explain how Vorthok children are raised? Our young go to combat schools, Zethkari said. They learn to fight before they learn to read. Every day they have contests to determine their rank among their age group. When a young one loses a fight, they must serve the winner for the rest of that day. They learn that defeat has consequences. What kind of consequences? Loss of status? Fewer food portions? Worse sleeping areas? The weak serve the strong, and everyone accepts this as natural law. Zethkari looked back at the window where the human children were still playing. But your young ones learned something completely different. What do they learn? They learn that defeat is just a pause before trying again. They learn that losing can be fun. They learn that the game matters more than who wins. His voice got quieter. This is why my people cannot defeat yours. I have trained your entire species to treat failure as temporary. Jake thought about all the battles he had fought against the Vorthok. Every time humans lost a fight, they came back harder. Every time a colony was destroyed, more volunteers signed up to fight. He'd never thought about it as training, but maybe it was. I need to tell you something that will disturb you even more, Zethkari said to Dr. Kane. Your human prisoners during our early battles, they behaved in ways that confused my warriors greatly. How so? When faced with death, they would joke with their guards. They would sing songs together in their cells. Some even helped wounded Vorthok soldiers, showing mercy to their enemies. Zethkari paused. Several of my warriors requested transfers. 2 other fronts, because they could not understand this behavior, Dr. Kane made notes on her tablet. And this affected your people's morale? More than affected. It broke something in their minds. How do you maintain warrior discipline when the enemy treats captivity like another game? How do you inspire fear in opponents who laugh at death? Jake watched the children outside switch to a new game. Now they were playing some kind of tag, where getting caught meant you had to spin around 3 times before rejoining. Even when they lost, they found ways to make it fun. There is more, Zethkari said. Something I have not told you yet. What? My commanders have been studying recordings of human battles. They found something that terrifies them more than your weapons or your ships. What did they find? Zethkari looked directly at Jake. They found that human soldiers perform better after suffering losses. Your people actually fight harder when they are losing. This goes against everything we know about warfare. Dr. Kane looked up from her tablet. Can you give us an example? The battle at Kepler Station? After we destroyed your colony, your remaining forces should have retreated or surrendered. Instead, they fought with increased determination. They used the deaths of their comrades as motivation to fight harder. Zethkari shook his head. In Vorthok culture, losing warriors weakens the survivors. But for humans, it seems to make them stronger. And your people don't understand this. We cannot understand it. For us, each defeat proves that we are weak. Each loss confirms that we deserve to lose. But humans treat each defeat as proof that they need to try harder. He pointed back at the children. You teach this to your young ones? You make them believe that falling down is just the first step. To getting back up, the room got very quiet. Outside, the children had finished their games and were heading back inside for dinner. Danny waved at the window as he passed, not knowing that an alien warrior was watching him with a mixture of fear and confusion. Your species has done something that no other species in the galaxy has ever done, Zethkari said finally. You have made war into a game that never ends, and by doing this, you have broken the minds of every enemy you face. Jake looked at the alien warrior. Is that why you're helping us now? I am helping you because continuing to fight humans will destroy everything my people believe about themselves, Zethkari said. We cannot win a war against opponents who refuse to accept that they have lost. And we cannot understand how to live in a universe where such creatures exist. Dr. Kane closed her tablet. What do you think will happen to your empire? Zethkari was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was very sad. I think we will learn to play your games, or we will go mad trying to understand why we cannot win them. 6 months had passed since Zethkari first spoke. The alien warrior now walked freely around the base, though he always had human guards nearby. His chains were gone, and he wore simple human clothes that looked strange on his four-armed body. Today, he sat in the garden with Commander Jake Morrison, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. My people have made a decision, Zethkari said quietly. The message came this morning. Looked up from his book. Over the months, he had grown to respect the alien warrior. It was hard to think of him as an enemy anymore. What kind of decision? The High Command wants to meet with your leaders. They want to discuss ending the war. Jake felt his heart beat faster. That's good news, isn't it? Zethkari made a sound that might have been a laugh, but there was no joy in it. Yes and no. They want to end the war, but not because they have been defeated. They want to end it because continuing to fight humans is destroying my people's minds. Dr. Kane approached them from across the garden. She had been working with Zethkari for months now, studying how his people thought and why they were having so much trouble fighting humans. She sat down on the bench next to them. How bad is it? She asked. The psychological damage to your people worse than you can imagine? Zethkari replied. 3 of our greatest generals have requested to step down from command. Thousands of warriors refuse to fight in battles against humans. Some young Vorthok have started asking if they can learn human games instead of traditional combat training. Jake shook his head. Games are causing all this trouble. It's not just games. The whole way you think about winning and losing. Zethkari looked at both humans. My species has ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years because we understood that strength. Means victory and weakness means defeat. But you humans have shown us that this understanding is incomplete. How so? Dr. Kane asked. You have proven that there is something more powerful than being strong. You have shown that refusing to accept defeat can be stronger than any weapon. Zethkari picked up a flower that had fallen from a nearby tree. When we conquered the Silthians, they surrendered because they knew they were beaten. When we destroyed the Morvac fleet, they accepted their defeat and asked for peace terms. This made sense to us. But humans don't do that, Jake said. No. When we destroy your fleets, you build new ones. When we take your colonies, you fight to take them back. When we kill your leaders, new ones appear who are even more determined to fight. Zethkari crushed the flower in his hand. You have taught the galaxy that defeat is not permanent, and this knowledge is spreading to other species. Dr. Kane leaned forward.
Oh.
Other species are learning from humans? Yes. The Silthians have started rebuilding their military. The Morvok have declared independence from our empire. Even species we conquered centuries ago are beginning to rebel. Zethkari looked tired. They have seen that if humans can refuse to stay defeated, maybe they can too. Jake thought about this. So the war isn't just between humans and Vorthok anymore? No, it has become something much larger. A war between two different ideas about what defeat means. Zethkari stood up and walked to the edge of the garden. My high command realizes that we cannot win this kind of war, not because we lack ships or weapons, but because we cannot change the way every species in the galaxy thinks about losing. What do they want to do about it? Zethkar turned back to face them. They want to learn how to teach our young ones to play like human. Children do. They want to understand how your people find joy in things that should cause shame. They want to study your games and your stories and your songs. Dr. Kane looked surprised. They want to change their entire culture. They want to survive, Zethkari said simply. And they have realized that survival might require learning new ways to think about victory and defeat. Jake stood up and joined the alien at the edge of the garden.
About you.
What do you want? I want my people to stop suffering, Zethkari said. For months I have watched human children play their games. I have seen how they turn every loss into a reason to try again. I have learned that there are different kinds of strength. He paused. I think maybe my people have been strong in only one way for too long. The next week, representatives from both species met in a large conference room at the base. General Carter sat across from 3 Vorthok commanders who had traveled from deep space to attend these talks. Zethkari sat between the two groups, serving as translator and cultural guide. We propose a different kind of peace treaty, the lead Vorthok commander said through Zethkar's translation. Not surrender from either side, but an agreement to learn from each other. General Carter looked confused. What does that mean exactly? You want to establish exchange programs, Zethkari explained. Vorthok young ones would come to human worlds to learn your games and your ways of thinking about competition. Human teachers would come to our worlds to show us how to make learning enjoyable instead of only serious. Dr. Kane spoke up from her seat at the side of the room. You want to change how your children are educated? You want to give them choices? We never had, Zethkari said. The choice to see defeat as temporary. The choice to find joy in challenges. The choice to help their opponents instead of only trying to dominate them. The talks continued for 3 days. In the end, they reached an agreement that surprised everyone. The war would end, but not with victory for either side. Instead, both species would work together to create something new. Within a year, the first interspecies school opened on the neutral world of Haven Station. Human children and young Vorthok learned together, playing games that combined the best parts of both cultures. The young aliens learned to laugh when they lost races and to help teammates who fell behind. The human children learned about honor and discipline from their new alien friends. Jake visited the school 6 months after it opened. He watched his son Danny teaching a group of young Vorthok how to play tag. The alien children were awkward at first, confused by a game where being caught wasn't shameful, but just meant your turn to be the chaser. This is very strange, one young Vorthok said to Danny after being tagged. In my old school, being caught would mean punishment. Here it just means the game keeps going, Danny replied. Want to try being the chaser now? The young aliens? Mouth parts clicked with what Jake had learned was the Vorthok equivalent of a smile. Yes, I think I would like that very much. Zethkari stood next to Jake, watching the children play. Do you think this will work? Jake asked. I think it already is working, Zethkari replied. Look at them. They are not thinking about winning or losing. They are just playing together. Jake nodded. Maybe that's the real victory, not defeating your enemies, but turning them into friends. Your species has taught the galaxy something very important, Zethkari said. You've shown us that the strongest warrior is not the one who never falls down, but the one who always gets back up. And the greatest victory is not destroying your enemy, but helping them learn to get back up too. On the playground, the children's laughter mixed together. Human and alien voices, creating a sound that had never been heard before in the galaxy. It was the sound of former enemies learning to play the same games, learning that losing and winning mattered less than the joy of playing together. The war was over, but something better had begun. A new way of thinking about conflict that spread from world to world, teaching all the species of the galaxy that defeat was never permanent as long as you were willing to try again. And in the end, that simple idea turned out to be the most powerful weapon humanity had ever created.